The gym lights flickered once, then blazed white as the entire school watched the fabric tear. A collective gasp ripped through the air like a starter pistol. There stood Mia Alvarez, 16, honor roll quiet. The girl who sat 3 rows from the back and never raised her hand, her pale blue shirt shredded down the middle by the captain of the varsity football team. The crowd's roar curdled into stunned silence when the torn cotton slipped from her shoulders, revealing the black sports bra underneath and the faint white scars that crisscrossed her ribs like tolly marks on prison walls. No one moved, no one breathed. Then, in one liquid motion too fast for the eye to track, Mia pivoted on the ball of her left foot, her right leg uncoiling in a perfect roundhouse that caught Tyler Hargrove square in the temple. The 6'3" quarterback dropped like a sack of cement, pom-poms frozen mid-wave behind him. The gym floor trembled. That was the moment everything changed. Rewind 6 hours. The spring dusk over Ridgewood High painted the parking lot gold, the kind of light that makes prom night feel immortal. Banners fluttered above the entrance. Enchanted evening, one night to shine. Inside the auxiliary gym, folding tables overflowed with punch bowls and thrift store centerpieces. Mia lingered near the emergency exit, clutching a plastic cup she hadn't sipped from. She wore the same blue shirt she'd bought at the mall with her last paycheck, the one her mother said brought out her eyes. She had rehearsed the sentence 100 times in the mirror. Would you like to dance? Simple, kind, harmless. Tyler Hargrove leaned against the far wall, Letterman jacket slung over one shoulder, laughing loud enough for the sound to bounce off the rafters. His friends formed a semicircle around him the way moons orbit a planet. Maya's pulse hammered so hard she felt it in her teeth. She crossed the floor, sneakers squeaking on the waxed wood, and the closer she got, the smaller she felt. When she finally stood in front of him, the music seemed to fade, replaced by the thud of her own heart. She managed the words. Tyler's grin widened, slow and cruel. "You serious?" he asked, voice pitched for his audience. Laughter rippled outward. Heat flooded Mia's face, but she didn't back away. She had promised herself she would try. Tyler glanced at his buddies, then at the banner overhead, then back at her. "Tell you what," he said, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. "Meet me in the main gym after the vote for king and queen. If you still want that dance, I'll give you one you'll never forget." The laughter swelled. Mia nodded once, a soldier accepting impossible orders, and retreated into the shadows. The prom court announcement dragged like a funeral. Tyler and his girlfriend, Chloe, were crowned amid strobe lights and synthetic fog. Maya watched from the bleachers, arms wrapped around her knees. When the lights dimmed for the final slow song, she slipped out. The main gym was darker, emergency bulbs casting long red stripes across the floor. A dozen Letterman jackets waited in a loose circle, phones glowing like fireflies. Tyler stood at the center, sleeves rolled high, knuckles already pink from earlier horseplay. Chloe perched on the scorer's table, legs swinging, filming on her phone. "There she is," Tyler called, voice syrupy with mockery. "Ready for that dance, Alvarez?" Maya's stomach lurched, but her feet kept moving. She had come this far. She stopped just outside the circle. Tyler stepped forward, towering. "Here's the thing," he said, lowering his voice so only she could hear at first. "Girls like you don't get to ask guys like me. You watch from the sidelines, that's your lane." Then louder, "But I'm feeling generous." He reached out, fingers hooking the collar of her shirt. The fabric resisted for half a second, then gave with a sickening rip. The circle tightened, phones rose higher. Maya's world narrowed to the sound of her own breathing and the cold air on her skin. Tyler dangled the shredded cloth like a trophy. "Oops," he said. "Guess you'll have to go home now." Something inside Maya clicked, the same sound a magazine makes sliding into place. She had spent years teaching herself to disappear, to fold her shoulders inward, to swallow every insult like bitter medicine. But the scars under the torn shirt weren't from cutting or accidents. They were from sparring mats and heavy bags, from nights when her father's old Marine buddies came over and turned the garage into a dojo. They were from learning that pain could be measured, controlled, redirected. Tyler's smirk faltered when he saw her eyes, dark, unblinking, suddenly ancient. Mia inhaled once slow through her nose. The circle of jackets sensed the shift and took a collective half-step back. Tyler laughed, but it cracked in the middle. "What, you gonna cry?" he taunted, giving the shirt another yank. The second rip exposed more skin, more scars. Chloe's phone trembled in her grip. Maya's right hand twitched at her side, fingers curling, uncurling. She remembered her father's voice, gravel and certainty. "Breathe out when you strike, Misha. Let the air carry the force." Tyler raised the shirt overhead like a matador's cape. "Who wants a souvenir?" he shouted. That was the mistake. The moment his guard lifted, Mia moved. The roundhouse was textbook hips first, then shoulder, then the whip, crack of her shin across his temple. Tyler's knees buckled before his brain registered the impact. He hit the floor face first, a dull thud that silenced every phone speaker. Chloe screamed, the sound thin and metallic. The circle scattered like startled birds. Mia stood over Tyler, chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm, the way she'd been taught after every combination. Blood trickled from Tyler's eyebrow, bright against the varnish. For 3 heartbeats, the gym was a vacuum. Then the emergency doors burst open and Vice Principal Grayson stormed in, walkie-talkie squawking. What in God's name? He stopped when he saw Tyler unconscious, Mia half-naked and utterly still, the shredded shirt lying between them like evidence. Someone in the back whimpered. Grayson's gaze flicked from the body to the girl to the phone still recording. "Everybody freeze," he barked. No one argued. Word travels through a high school the way fire travels through dry grass. By the time the paramedics wheeled Tyler out on a stretcher, the story had already mutated. Shy girl knocks out quarterback with ninja kick. Shy girl is secret cage fighter. Shy girl is ex-military. Snapchat overflowed with grainy clips, each one slower and more dramatic than the last. Mia sat in the nurse's office wrapped in a scratchy blanket, staring at the floor tiles while counselors whispered outside the door. Her mother arrived still wearing hospital scrubs, eyes wild until she saw her daughter was breathing. She didn't ask questions, she simply opened her arms. Mia folded into them and, for the first time that night, shook. The fallout was swift and surgical. Tyler's parents threatened lawsuits. Chloe posted a tear-streaked apology that vanished within minutes. The school board convened an emergency meeting, but the videos refused to die. By morning, Fed Ridgewood Roundhouse trended nationwide. News vans camped outside the gates. A local MMA gym offered Mia free lifetime membership. Her phone, which had never held more than 20 contacts, buzzed itself dead. She didn't answer any of it. Instead, she went to the garage at dawn, wrapped her hands the way her father taught her, and hit the heavy bag until the chain rattled like bones. Each thud echoed the same question, "Why did you wait so long?" The truth surfaced in pieces. Maya's father, Staff Sergeant Luis Alvarez, had come home from his last deployment in pieces too, though his were invisible. Nightmares, startle reflex, the 1,000-yard stare. The corpse gave him a medal and a medical discharge. The VA gave him appointments he never kept. So he built a gym in the garage. A single heavy bag, a cracked speed bag Matt scavenged from yard sales. He taught his daughter to box the way other fathers taught theirs to ride bikes. "Anger is fuel," he told her, voice soft as smoke. "Channel it or it burns the house down." Mia was 8 the first time she split her knuckle open. 10 when she could dodge her uncle's jab. 12 when she realized the kids at school would never hit as hard as the bag, so she stopped flinching at their words. By 14, her father's hands shook too badly to wrap his own wrists. The garage grew quiet. Mia kept training alone, telling herself it was for discipline, for health, for anything except the day she might need it. She never imagined that day would come wearing a Letterman jacket. Monday morning, the cafeteria felt like a war zone. Students parted when Mia walked in, whispers trailing her like exhaust. She carried her tray to the usual empty table. 3 freshmen were already sitting there, eyes wide. One slid over to make room. Mia hesitated, then sat. Across the room, Chloe's usual throne was empty. Tyler had a concussion and a fractured orbital bone. Doctors said he'd miss the first 3 games of senior season. The football team wore black tape over their helmets in silent protest. Maya ate her fries one by one, tasting nothing. Then a shadow fell across the table. Coach Ramirez, 6'5" and shaped like a refrigerator, stood holding a manila folder. "Alvarez," he said, voice low enough that only the table heard. "Principal's office. Bring your stuff." The freshman gasped. Maya wiped salt from her fingers and followed. Principal Hayes waited behind her desk, flanked by the school resource officer and a woman in a navy suit Mia didn't recognize. Hayes gestured to the chair. "We've reviewed the footage," she began without preamble. "Multiple angles. Audio. Mr. Hargrove's actions constitute assault. You, Miss Alvarez, are cleared of any wrongdoing." The woman in the suit extended a hand. "Detective Serrano, Juvenile Division. We're filing charges against Tyler and 2 others for conspiracy. But we need your statement." Mia's mouth went dry. She had expected suspension, expulsion, maybe juvie. "Not this." She nodded. Detective Serrano smiled, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. "One more thing. The DA wants to know if you'd consider a diversion program, teach self-defense to at-risk girls. Community service. Wipes the record clean." Mia blinked. Hayes leaned forward. "You don't have to decide today. But Ridgewood can't sweep this under the rug. We owe you that much." The self-defense program started 3 weeks later in the same gym where everything shattered. 10 girls showed up the first night, then 20, then the auxiliary gym overflowed. Maya stood at the mat's edge in a borrowed G, voice barely above a whisper. "First rule," she said, "is learning where your power lies." She demonstrated a simple hip escape, the same move her father used to pin her when she was 9. The girls mirrored her, clumsy but determined. By the 3rd class, they were laughing when they fell. By the 6th, they asked for push-ups. Maya's mother watched from the doorway, eyes shining with something that looked like pride, but felt like grief for all the years they'd lost to silence. Tyler returned to school in late October wearing sunglasses indoors. The football team's first game without him ended in a 42-0 rout. He kept his head down in the halls, but the swagger was gone. Chloe transferred to a private academy before Thanksgiving. The scars on Mia's ribs faded to silver threads. She still sat 3 rows from the back in English, but now students asked to borrow her notes. She let them. On Fridays, she locked the garage door and trained until the streetlights buzzed on, sweat mixing with tears she no longer bothered to hide. Her father sat on the weight bench, watching, saying nothing. Some nights he managed to wrap his own hands again. Spring brought college acceptance letters. Maya's first choice was a small state school 2 hours away with a criminal justice program and a women's self-defense scholarship she hadn't applied for. Someone had nominated her. The envelope trembled in her hands the same way her voice had trembled asking Tyler to dance. She showed her father. He read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it on the altar next to his old dog tags. "You earned this," he said. His voice cracked on the last word. Maya hugged him so hard his ribs creaked. For the first time in years, he hugged back with both arms. Graduation day dawned humid and bright. Mia walked across the stage in a cap that refused to sit straight on her curls. The principal called her name, then paused. "Valedictorian of resilience," she added, and the auditorium erupted. In the front row, her mother stood clapping until her palms were red. Her father saluted with 2 fingers, eyes wet. Tyler sat 3 sections over, sunglasses still on, clapping slowly like it hurt. When the ceremony ended, Mia found him waiting by the exit. He had lost weight, the jacket hung loose. "I owe you an apology," he said, voice rough. I was a coward." Mia studied him for a long moment. The gym lights were gone, but she could still hear the rip of fabric in her head. "Say it to the girls I teach," she answered. "Tell them why they need to know how to fight." Tyler nodded, swallowed hard, and walked away. Summer blurred into fall. Maya's YouTube channel, launched on a dare by her self-defense students, hit 100,000 subscribers with a single video, 10 minutes of raw footage from that night, overlaid with her calm narration about fear, boundaries, and the moment a body learns it can protect itself. Comments poured in from military veterans, single moms, kids who'd never thrown a punch. She read them all. On move in day. Her dorm roommate turned out to be a black belt in Taekwondo who recognized her from the viral clip. They sparred in the quad at midnight, laughing when security threatened to write them up. Maya's scars caught the moonlight, faint but proud. Years later, when reporters asked about the kick scene round the world, Mia always gave the same answer. It wasn't about him. It was about the girl I used to be, the one who thought silence was safety. She never mentioned the nights she still woke gasping, convinced the shirt was tearing again. She never mentioned her father's slow smile when she sent him photos from the police academy, badge gleaming. Some stories end in the gym where they began. Others begin there and keep walking, one measured breath at a time. And there you have it, the full cinematic saga of Maya Alvarez, the shy girl whose roundhouse kick didn't just drop a bully. It lifted an entire community out of complacency. What moment in your life forced you to stand taller than you ever thought possible? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one. If this tale of quiet courage and explosive justice moved you, smash that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear that their past doesn't define their power, and subscribe for more epic redemption arcs told like blockbuster movies. Hit the bell so you never miss the next one. Until then, keep your guard up and your heart open. This is your narrator signing off.